Caitlin Clark isn't just rewriting the record books, she's making entire WNBA teams abandon their own arenas like they're in a fire drill. Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Dallas, Las Vegas, Washington. They're all bailing on their usual home courts just to make room for the Caitlin Clark effect. And you know somewhere, Angel Reese is scrolling her phone, fuming, wondering why it's not her name on those billboards. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson's probably tweeting about respect again while Clark racks up 41 nationally televised games. That's not a schedule, it's a coronation. Caitlin Clark is going to spend all of next season playing in the NBA arenas. We've got rival fans being furious that, Caitlin Clark is that she's getting new arenas, getting moved to new arenas. You've got people saying that they're pushing the fever. Why are they pushing the fever? Let's pause for a moment. Could you have imagined a day when WNBA teams would willingly pack up and leave their own cozy home courts just because one phenom is coming to town? Well, that day has arrived, and it's all thanks to Caitlin Clark. 6 franchises are ditching their regular spots to move into NBA-level arenas, which means that all Indiana Fever games, whether home or away, will now be played in venues that can hold at least 15,000 fans. Not because it's cute, but because Clark is a one-woman sellout machine. And while the rest of the league plays in arenas that feel like high school gyms, Clark demands NBA floors. Let that sink in, that there are 6 WNBA teams that have moved their games to NBA or NBA size arenas. But let's be clear, these aren't minor upgrades. We're talking about full-blown venue escalations. The Atlanta Dream is headed to the Hawks State Farm Arena. The Chicago Sky, who spent last year pretending Angel Reese was the main draw, are now doubling down with not 1, but 2 games at the United Center, because Caitlin's coming. Other than those Fever games, Reese won't see the light of day at United Center. Even the Aces, home of A'ja Wilson, are booking the T-Mobile Arena just to handle the fever dream that is the Indiana Fever. What's hilarious is how just last year, all these same teams were downplaying Caitlin's arrival like it was no big deal. We don't need her, they said. The league is already thriving. But actions speak louder than shady subtweets. They're not just rolling out the red carpet, they're repaving the entire street. Now, Connecticut deserves a special shout out here. These folks don't even have a nearby NBA venue. But for Caitlin, they're packing up and heading to Boston, yes, a whole different city, to host the game at the TD Garden. Your presence is powerful when teams start outsourcing their home games to other zip codes. Imagine the chaos if Angel tried to pull the same move. They'd be lucky to get upgraded to the high school next door. Well, we're now at the stage where Caitlin Clark is probably going to be responsible. I'm not joking when I say it is. For games where she plays in, are probably going to be responsible for 30% of the attendance at the WNBA. And it's not just them. The Dallas Wings and Washington Mystics are jumping on the Caitlin train too, relocating their Indiana matchups to bigger arenas with more seats and even more dollar signs. This isn't coincidence. It's a full-blown league-wide blueprint. Caitlin Clark comes to town and suddenly, it's not a basketball game. It's a fundraiser for the opposing team. Some analysts are calling her the WNBA's walking stimulus package. Honestly, that's not even a joke. It's a fact. There are teams that are going to average 3,000 fans at games, but have 17,000 fans when Caitlin Clark shows up to town with fever. So where are the haters now? The same folks who were whining about hype are suddenly real quiet as their arenas sell out and their ratings skyrocket, thanks to the one player they didn't want to acknowledge. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is probably still fuming that her big, unrivaled championship didn't even get this kind of attention. And A'ja Wilson, she's busy dropping cryptic tweets while her team relocates for Clark. Before Clark's rise, WNBA games averaged around 6,000 fans. But Caitlin, she's out here filling 20,000-seat arenas like it's nothing. That's triple the usual crowd. The fans aren't coming for a team, they're coming for her. Execs have even admitted they'd rather sacrifice home court advantage than miss out on the Caitlin cash grab. So let's add this up. The WNBA attendance spiked by 48% last year. And guess who carried that bump on her back? Caitlin. Teams are no longer just adding her games to their calendars. They're building their entire seasons around her. Vegas didn't just shift one game, they moved multiple matchups to T-Mobile Arena just to accommodate the Clark effect. The same aces who act like she's not a threat are booking bigger stages every time she rolls into town. Now we've got some more information on the games and some perspective. Here we are. Indiana Fever put this out. Man, just a few minutes ago, all eyes on us. 41 of our 44 games are on national television. But wait, if you thought arena changes were wild, the TV coverage is even crazier. Caitlin Clark is now booked for 41 national broadcasts this season. 41. That's more national airtime than entire WNBA teams have had in the last decade combined. ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBA TV, they're all fighting for a piece of the Caitlin pie. Last season, the Indiana Fever set viewership records throughout the league. Now they're the crown jewel of broadcast scheduling. It's like they went from background noise a few years ago when they could barely win games to the headliner overnight. And that's got to sting for players like Asia and Angel, who probably assumed the spotlight was theirs for the taking. Instead, they're watching Clark steal the show, break the ratings, and book the slots. Clark didn't just boost attendance, she flipped the entire WNBA broadcast model. Her games consistently shattered viewership records, hitting the million-viewer mark like it was light work. Now the networks are in a bidding war, elbowing each other for Caitlin content like it's Black Friday at Best Buy. ABC didn't just want Fever games, they demanded the ones against Chicago, because let's be real, the Clark-Reese drama is television gold. CBS grabbed up the Liberty matchups, while ESPN snatched the Aces showdown, because nothing screams must-see TV like Caitlin Clark dismantling the league's so-called super team. These are all gonna be big-rated games. CBS against the Sky, ABC against the Liberty. So you're seeing the teams that move the needles that they're gonna play. Well, they should draw some ratings anyway. I'm not going to say these other teams move the needle because they really don't. While Caitlin Clark continues to dominate headlines and hijack the league's spotlight, there's a growing frustration simmering beneath the surface. Games that don't feature Clark are becoming harder and harder to find in prime time. Veteran stars who've spent years in the trenches, building their reputations, are now watching from the sidelines as Clark gets center stage, again and again. And let's be real, they're not thrilled. Can you blame them? Imagine grinding in the league for years, only to see another player get 41 nationally televised games while your own team barely registers a blip on the sports media radar. We're bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes their breath away at points. Like the WNBA's initial marketing strategy didn't help either. Last season, they tried to promote a variety of players, essentially giving everyone a participation ribbon. They hoped that spreading the spotlight would balance attention and keep egos in check. But fans weren't buying it. They tuned in for Clark. They skipped everything else. The data was undeniable and the league had no choice but to adjust. Suddenly, it wasn't about balance. It was about giving the audience what they demanded. More Caitlin. The WNBA needs to do everything they can to promote Caitlin Clark. And I'm not saying do it at the expense of anyone else, but they went into last season basically trying to promote anyone but Caitlin Clark for I don't know what reason, and now the WNBA finds itself in a very awkward spot. They desperately need Caitlin Clark's games to boost ratings, sell tickets, and stay relevant in the national conversation. But every time her face appears in another primetime slot, it deepens the divide between her and the rest of the league. Analysts are predicting that at least one of Clark's games this year could cross the 4 million viewer threshold, putting her in the same stratosphere as top NBA broadcasts. That number alone is enough to make marketing departments drool. But it also highlights just how far ahead Clark is from her so-called rivals. That is literally what they should be doing. You should be promoting every single player in this league. But, nosh. And again, don't promote Caitlin Clark at the expense of the league, but also promote Caitlin Clark. Promote everyone more. Promote Caitlin Clark constantly. Promote all these players constantly. Promote rivalries constantly. Promote these big games constantly. And speaking of rivals, remember when Angel Reese tried to claim the face of the league title during her LSU days? Yeah, about that. Those dreams are now nothing more than smoke. That entire Clark versus Reese storyline the media tried to push completely evaporated. One look at the national TV schedule says it all. Clark isn't sharing the spotlight. She is the spotlight. What we're seeing unfold is the complete collapse of the co-star narrative that was spread around by Reese's fans last season. That storyline evaporated faster than morning dew. The networks and fans made their choice crystal clear. There's only one main character in this story, America's team. Yeah, guys, I mean, let's just be honest. This is exactly what they do in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. Alright, this is exactly what they're gonna do. And they do every year with the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Because they draw ratings. For Angel Reese, this latest shift in the WNBA spotlight has to sting more than the bricks she throws under the backboard. She spent her college career branding herself as the next big thing, the face of women's basketball. From viral moments to endorsement deals, she leaned hard into the idea that she was the game changer. And her fan base, they backed her every step of the way, pushing the narrative that Caitlin Clark's success was nothing more than a media-manufactured phenomenon. But now, the silence from those same voices is deafening, as arenas are being restructured, venues upgraded, and marketing budgets rerouted, all in Clark's direction. I'm sure this is because of Angel Reese. It's good. It's really good. Seriously, no, not at all. The Caitlin Clark effect is real. Just imagine what it must feel like for Reese to see her own team, the Chicago Sky, ditching their regular home court for United Center only when the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark roll into town. They're not making that move for Angel. Nope. It's not about her popularity, her performance, or her presence. It's purely about Clark. That's gotta hit the ego hard. The Sky might as well be the undercard for the Caitlin Clark main event, even more awkward. The Chicago Sky's social media is still trying its best to push Angel Reese as the franchise centerpiece. They're pumping out photos, highlight reels, and branded content like she's the main draw. But when national broadcasters roll their promos, it's all Clark, all the time. That once hyped rivalry between Clark and Reese has faded into the background. The networks aren't even trying to make it a storyline anymore. They know who moves the needle. And it's not the self-proclaimed Bayou Barbie. How many of these games? Guys, one of these games is going to hit 3 million viewers this year. Alright, I don't know which one. I assume you can look at the Sky, look at the Aces, those two games, and think those are the games that could, in theory, break 3 million, maybe more than that. The All-Star Game, of course, did a massive rating. What is it going to end up doing this year? So it's all going to be very interesting. Don't get it twisted. Angel Reese is still making money. Her name still pulls endorsements. She's still building a brand. But when it comes to redefining the economic future of the WNBA, that crown is no longer up for debate. Caitlin Clark wears it now. The numbers are clear, the metrics don't lie, and the networks are making their priorities known. For Reese and Asia Wilson, this goes way beyond just bruised egos. This is about legacy, leverage, and long-term marketability. In professional sports, the athlete who brings in the audience gets the biggest bag. They get top-tier endorsement deals, more influence in league conversations, and the kind of historical reverence that cements a name in the books forever. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player with good stats. She's reshaping what it means to be a superstar in women's basketball. The fact that every single team that is not playing in an NBA arena has for Caitlin Clark. It genuinely just shows that the Caitlin Clark boom is not indie. And let's be honest, one team getting 41 nationally televised games, that's not just rare, it's unprecedented. No team in WNBA history has ever received that level of coverage. It's not about fairness, it's about demand. And Clark is the one creating that demand. The comparisons to Tiger Woods, they're actually pretty accurate. Just like Woods brought an entirely new audience to golf, Clark is doing the same for the WNBA. People who've never watched a women's basketball game in their life are now setting calendar reminders for Fever matchups. Clark's not just a player, she's a phenomenon, a business-altering force, a walking, dribbling ratings magnet. Now here's the reality check for the rest of the league. Either you roll with the momentum Caitlin Clark is creating, or you risk being left in the dust, ranting on social media while the Fever rack up sold-out arenas in primetime slots. Caitlin's rise isn't a threat to women's basketball. It's the biggest opportunity it's ever had. but only the smart ones will capitalize on it. So as Asia laces up her new signature sneakers and Angel Reese posts her latest photo shoot, they might want to glance at the Fever's schedule. Because that team, the one everyone laughed at last year, is coming for everything. Clark isn't just trying to succeed, she's setting the new standard. And she's doing it with poise, humility, and a three-point range that keeps coaches up at night. The WNBA is changing, and Caitlin Clark isn't waiting for permission. She's already at the center of it. The rest of the league, they can either get on board or get out of the way. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments.